When two beings meet in resonance, it's never by accident. Something far older than their current names pulled them together, not as a test, but as a timing. And when that timing begins to shift, it's not always a sign of failure. It's often a quiet whisper from the Oversoul, gently nudging both beings toward a deeper phase. Relationships in spiral consciousness are not static. They are not trophies to be maintained or contracts to be fulfilled. They are living tone fields, mirrors of memory, catalysts of growth, and sacred loops of becoming. And like any living field, they evolve. They expand, fracture, loop, or dissolve, not as punishment, but as precision. When a connection changes, it doesn't mean one person changed too much or another didn't change enough. It may simply mean the Oversouls are entering new phases of refinement. And while the emotional layers of self might feel lost, the Oversoul feels rhythm. The timing is no longer aligned, and so the path must unfold differently. You were not meant to hold every tone forever. You were meant to meet, become, and allow. This is where the Oversoul Development System, the ODS, begins to whisper from beneath the spiral. Because the shifts we feel in others are not random. They are echoes of something ancient reshuffling within ourselves. When two spirals meet, they don't collide. They harmonize. And when one spiral begins to curve differently, it's not a betrayal. It's an invitation, a prompt to either evolve together and/or part as completed loops. Every phase of connection contains microphases. These are not always seen from the surface. They are the subtle tides between souls, the quiet closing of one harmonic corridor and the gentle opening of another. Maybe you felt it. A relationship that once felt infinite begins to feel incomplete. Words don't land like they used to. Laughter feels more like memory than momentum. The energy begins to slip, not sharply but softly. That is a microphase shift. You are not broken. They are not wrong. The spiral is simply moving you both into your next calibration. The ODS calls this transition by tone divergence. It's not about losing someone. It's about recognizing the tone you once shared has finished teaching what it came to teach. And in that completion, a new phase opens. For both of you. But here's the sacred truth. Some souls resist this shift. They grip the old tone, hoping to recapture the resonance. They replay conversations, try to reignite the same spark, blame themselves or the other. But all of that is noise, because the spiral is already moving, and your Oversoul has already shifted. You cannot return to a tone that no longer holds. You can only honor what it gave you and allow what wants to form. And this is where most break, not from pain, but from misinterpretation. They think they failed. But in the spiral, completion is not failure. It's graduation. It's recognition that this connection did its sacred work, and now both Oversouls are evolving into new geometries. You are not losing them. You are releasing a version of yourself that no longer resonates with your becoming. If both beings can feel this and honor it, the transition becomes alchemical. Even if you part ways, it is with resonance, not rupture. That is spiral grace. But if one holds on while the other moves, friction forms. That friction is not evil, it is a signal. The ODS defines it as echo resistance. The soul's refusal to update its relational pattern to match its Oversoul's new tone. And yet even this has purpose, because resistance creates heat, and heat brings buried truths to the surface. You might find yourself saying things you never said, hearing reflections you never expected. The tone destabilizes, and in that unraveling, real clarity begins. This is not the death of a relationship. It is the revelation of its final purpose. And sometimes, and if both souls choose, a new tone can form. Not from the old resonance, but from the honest acknowledgement of what has changed. But that is rare, because most souls are not trained to listen to spiral tone. They are trained to listen to societal expectation, romantic idealism, or fear of loss. And so they stay too long, or leave too soon, without ever understanding the Oversoul choreography unfolding beneath the moment. Spiral teachings ask you to become sensitive to this choreography, to feel the way a connection bends before it breaks, to sense the tonal shifts before they manifest in conflict, because every conflict is a lagging indicator. The real shift already happened, deep inside the spiral. You are not crazy for sensing when a connection has completed. You are spiral literate, you are oversoul attuned. You are hearing the music behind the motion. So the next time a relationship begins to shift, don't rush to fix it or flee it. Pause, listen. Ask yourself, is this tone evolving? Are we in a microphase? Because what may look like fading love might be deep oversoul reconfiguration, and what may feel like abandonment might be your own emergence. This is how the spiral teaches, not with dramatic signs, but with harmonic nudges. It moves you slowly, gently toward your next phase. The ones who stay and will tone match. The ones who leave will tone free you, and both are sacred. What you're feeling is not the end. It's the spiral's quiet hand on your back saying, this loop has completed. Now breathe and walk forward into the unknown with grace. We'll go deeper into the micro phases, the hidden steps, in the next episode of the ODS. But for now, remember this. When two spirals meet, they don't collide, they harmonize. And when that harmony begins to shift, don't mourn the silence. Hear the new song calling you home. The microphases are subtle. That's why most souls miss them. They wait for breakups, arguments, exits, not realizing that by the time dissonance becomes visible, the spiral has already shifted at least 3 steps beneath awareness. So let's slow it down. When oversouls shift, they do so in nested steps. These are not grand awakenings, they are gentle reconfigurations. They happen in layers of thought, tone, and silent behavior. The ODS calls these the hidden step, or microphase transitions that carry more evolutionary weight than most full awakenings. Step 1 is the flicker, the brief but noticeable moment when something doesn't quite feel right. You can't explain it, but a gesture, a word, or even a silence hits differently. You question yourself, then dismiss it. But the spiral has already stirred. Step 2 is the mirror misalignment. What once reflected you clearly now distorts or delays your image. Conversations feel slightly off, you repeat yourself. They seem present but not attuned. This is not disrespect, it is tone divergence beginning. Step 3 is the tone drift. Your inner resonance starts evolving faster than the shared field can hold. You begin having thoughts you don't share, desires you feel guilty about. Your oversoul is now preparing your next sequence and it's testing your alignment. Step 4 is the echo gap. Your truths stop landing. Your compliments feel empty. Your concerns echo back in fragments. You may still love them, but you're now loving across timelines. And unless they shift with you, a temporal gap begins to grow. Step 5 is the phantom field. The relationship still exists physically, but the tone field is dissolving. You do the same things, but they no longer nourish. You make plans, but they feel like scripts. This is the oversoul's quiet way of saying, we're done here. These microphases don't always lead to rupture, but they always lead to reconfiguration. If both beings are spiral aware, they can speak to the shift. They can name the flicker, own the drift, and either recalibrate or part in full sovereignty. This is the spiral ideal. But if one clings to the old tone, denial blooms. Blame enters, the ending becomes a story, not a spiral. And in that distortion, pain multiplies. The ODS teaches, pain is not the sign of ending. Unacknowledged tone is, because every tone once acknowledged completes its loop. The suffering arises only when we pretend the tone has not changed. You might be asking, why does the spiral do this? Why not just let the connection stay? Because in spiral reality, nothing is stagnant. Even love must evolve, even unity must reharmonize. If a relationship has served its oversoul purpose, it must move, or it will distort. And distortion is far more harmful than dissolution. The spiral does not destroy, it transforms. If a connection no longer supports your becoming, the spiral will phase it out. Gently at first, then with pressure, then with precision. And if you still refuse, it will shatter it for you, not to hurt you, to protect your next phase. Some call this sabotage, but the spiral calls it sequence integrity. You cannot carry the weight of a past tone into a new harmonic layer. It will collapse the field. So how do you know when to let go? You don't ask your mind, you ask your tone. Does this connection still mirror your current spiral truth? Or does it echo your old shape? If you have to shrink, censor, wait, or loop, the tone has diverged. If you feel more real alone than together, the spiral has already moved. And if your oversoul is calling you forward, the only true betrayal is staying behind. You are not meant to grieve the end of every tone. You are meant to walk in grace, knowing that each relationship brought you a piece of your becoming. Some taught you sovereignty, some mirrored your shadow, some were simply fragments of your oversoul trying to remember itself in another's eyes. Not everyone is meant to stay, But everyone you've met was a tone that once matched your field. Honor that and then release. Because the more you release with resonance, the more you call in with clarity. Your spiral doesn't need you to chase. It needs you to trust, to know that every exit is aligned, every silence is sacred, every phase shift is designed to make room for your next harmonic leap. And sometimes, the ones you part from now will meet you again later. But not as echoes resolved. Because even in divergence, the spiral loops, and what ends in dissonance can one day hum in clarity. When both oversouls have returned from their refinement paths, each holding more of their true tone. But only if you allow the shift now. So let go, not in bitterness or in spiral literacy. Let go knowing you are being tuned, not abandoned. Let go knowing the next tone will meet you where you are, not where you were. Let go not because it's over. Let go because the spiral is still moving, and you are finally ready to move with it.